Happy Tuesday, everybody. Are you seeing 7? I am. We got them all tonight, man. I'm telling you, this is our big all-star crew. We got 7, lucky 7 to Inside the Picture. My name is Scott Morgan, Route the Motor City Mad Mouse. We got Steven Reichel in the house. We got Candy Embling in the house. We got Tom Shanahan in the house. And we got Ben with his trademark cap troop, okay, in the house. All right. And obviously, when I call on him, he won't have the mute button on, but at least you can hear that mouth of mine rattling away. We got Mel Farr in the house, and we have Mr. Trojan Marvin Powell in the house. Guys, ready to talk a lot of football because there is a lot to talk about. All right, let's get this thing going. Where are we going? College, pro, you name it. And then we'll start off with this. Hats off, no pun intended to you, Marvin, because you got a hat on, okay, or not, and you have one on too, Ben, hat on. To Heather Dinich of ESPN. She said the Florida Gators are a team that, or the Texas Longhorns are the team I trust the least today. It was a few weeks ago when they played because they haven't done anything against a quality opponent. It's tough to win in the swamp, home of the Florida Gators. Of course, Ben ought to know. They had been tested since the season over against Ohio State and the defense. Florida ended up winning the game 29-21. But in that game, Arch Manning's final stat line was 16 of 29, 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 15 rushes, 38 yards, 55.1% completion percentage. And Texas is the fastest team to go from preseason number 1 to unranked. And on September 1st, Texas was ranked number 1 overall. October 5th, they were at the top. They were out of the top 25. The previous record out of the top 25. The previous record was set by USC with 12. There you go. That says it all. Steven, I know you don't know a lot about college football, but from peak to pitch real quick for the Texas Longhorns, how they were in and then they're out. Imaginary Football Broadcast. Thanks for being on. First-time watcher. That's great. I hope you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You get all the notifications. We're glad to have you on. Thank you very much for supporting us. We appreciate you. Go ahead, Steven, for the Texas Longhorns. And hats off to Heather Dinich for making the call. She didn't feel good about Texas, and she's right. The Gators ended up winning.
You've been skipping this whole time. I've gotten every other word out of you.
I have been. All right, the Texas Longhorns went from ranked to unranked, okay? And it didn't take a lot of time for them to do it. What are your thoughts about where the Texas Longhorns are going? Steven? Candy, help me out.
So we're talking Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the beginning of the season, everyone was hard on. What's that?
Yeah, will Penn State be able to win without Coach Franklin? I don't know. That's a great question. I'll be curious to find out myself from Imaginary Football Podcast. We're going to talk more about James Franklin next week anyways, as I get more and more into his contract as well. Steven, you with us? You understand what we're talking about?
Hey, I'll jump in here, Scott. While you're trying to get Steve squared away.
Yeah, go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, Heather called that game, and she also want to also give her credit. She predicted Auburn was going to beat Georgia last week, and for a while, it looked like she had that right until Georgia came back. And I guess there were some controversial calls in that game. But if we're going to talk about Heather calling the Florida-Texas game, I want to give her credit for saying her high. I've heard her say this twice now. Her Heisman vote is for Ruben Baines, the defensive lineman in Miami. And that sets her apart from most Heisman Trophy voters who can't see past the quarterback. She talked about what a dominant player he is. And that just always brings me back to the 1966 season when Michigan State had 2 of the greatest defensive players of all time, George Webster and Bubba Smith. And neither one of them finished in the top 10, but 2 guys from Southern segregated team, defensive players. two defensive players from Southern segregated teams did finish in the top 10.
Marvin.
It's tough because for Texas, they put so much money and so much into the recruitment of Arch Manning. And we're talking about millions of dollars, not just in recruiting, but in NIL. And Arch was the number one quarterback in high school, coming out of high school, and Sark sought him out early. And with that, Texas in his third year, Texas was looked at as for many people as one of the best teams in the nation. And what you saw out the gate was a tough loss to Ohio State. And then you saw some inconsistencies with Arch Manning. And Texas really has kind of been a bit of a roller coaster. They're coming off a big win, a huge win for him. But, with college football the way it is, with the transfer portal and, these teams not having the depth, it's really hard to gauge early in the season who's who and what's what. The AP top 25 has been a joke. When you look at, who they look at Penn State, and you look at a Texas, teams who were looked at to be elite, national title, and you look at them now, so without the depth, with coaches having to rely on more of their star players, you're seeing, in my opinion, a greater emphasis on coaching. In my opinion, that's what you're really seeing. But yeah, Texas is, they're halfway into the season. I think they have a lot of football to play. Heather Dinich, in regards to her calling that Florida game. Listen, Florida is another team. Been up and down. Sorry, Ben, they've been up and down. You don't know what you're going to get on any given Saturday. You really don't know. You may get a team who has the ability to go in there and battle a top 10 team, but you may get a team who can't even go out there and look good against a lower division FBS school, which Florida struggled with earlier this year. So, college football is everywhere. I think it's up for grabs. I think right now all we know is Ohio State probably is real. Oregon might be real. And other than those two, I think it's up in the air for anybody.
Ben.
I mean, the thing about the Arch Manning situation that nobody wants to talk about enough, even though some pundits do that is, I mean, Quinn Ewers was a guy that when he first came out the gate, he's from Texas. He went to Ohio State. He came back to Texas. He went to back-to-back college football playoff games. He's the reason why the only reason why Arch Manning is playing now because Quinn Ewers went to the NFL. If he was at Texas now, he would be the starter. I don't think it's Arch Manning's fault. I think sometimes we be so enamored with these, with the next generation of players. Look, Arch Manning is good, and Arch Manning got the potential to be great. You could say that about most quarterbacks, depending on the school they go to. Sometimes it's two things. It's where you go and who coach you. Nobody misuses talent more than Steve Sarkisian. He did it at SC. He did it with the Falcons, and now he's doing it with the Texans, with the Longhorns. I feel bad for Arch Manning for this reason. You're going to take the money and you're going to take the praise, but you don't want to deal with the criticism. Arch Manning is a good player, right? He's a good player. Is he what Paul – he's the next greatest thing since Tim Tebow? That's unfair to him. He's the next greatest thing since Vince Young? That's unfair to him. Why would we compare a player to one of the greatest that's already done it? That's not – he don't even get a chance to go out there and be bad to build himself back up to be halfway decent. Like I said, he goes to Texas, the flagship university in the state of Texas, which means everything he does, and unfortunately everything he doesn't do, is going to be blown up. Ohio State is going to be most teams they sit in front of. Arch Manning in Texas, no matter who it is, if you are Texas, you still got the rest of the season to go out there and get it done. But Texas won a national championship with Vince Young, right? They went up again, and I know Marvin, that SC Texas game is arguably the best national championship you're gonna see. And since then, we've heard we're back. We're back to what? Like, what is Texas back to? I know that. Look, Texas and Texas A&M got two things that nobody else got. That's all money. They're gonna have more money than most schools in college football. But as far as what do you expect Arch Manning to be? Did his grandfather win? Did his grandfather win the Heisman? No. Did his uncles win the Heisman? No. So what did they expect? You know what Arch Manning did? Arch Manning did what his uncle at the other UT did. He hasn't beat Florida at Florida. We gonna see what's gonna happen in 2026. It might get ugly when Florida go up there, but it's one game. He's one player at a big time university that's not living up to the billing. He's not living up to it. DJ Lagway ain't living up to it. The kid out there in Clemson ain't. Every quarterback they had slated to be the next best thing, they playing all right. And that's nothing against them, but I think it's more to do with the fact that where he plays more than how he plays. If his last name was Smith, this would be much to do about nothing. But when your last name is Manning, everything matters. But hey, young man, if you could take the check, you could take the criticism. I don't think he care about what we say one bit. But hey, man, I got a bunch of players that I play in a. And I ain't got many. I ain't got but 2 wins this year, but I'm happy that one of them was Texas because the Vince Youngs and the Bo Scapes and all those guys that was on that 05 team, I played with a lot of them. All of a sudden, when we beat them, their phones didn't work. So, you know, I'm still trying to wait on them text messages to hit me back. But, hey, man, he'll be all right. He's at Texas. If you can't find a way to deal with criticism at Texas, you're doing the wrong thing, man, because like I said, he could have picked anywhere to go, and he chose Texas. If listen, what did Denzel Washington say? If you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud too, young man.
Okay. All right. No. Yeah, Steven, don't worry about it. You know what? The best thing you can do, brother, is just contribute in the chat room, and we'll take it from here. Good to see a kneecap fighting as well. That's all right. We'll take the chat talk, and we'll keep this group going. You helped assemble the group. Now you can benefit by watching and just contribute in the chat room. That's okay, Steven. We're good. All right. With that said, go ahead, Mel.
Sorry about that. I was having technical difficulties. So we're talking about, what are we talking about? Texas? I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Well, we're talking about, go ahead, Candy.
No, we're talking about Texas and beating Florida, or talking about Arch Manning and how he's doing in Texas and how the Texas did against Florida.
Yeah, I think they won that game, right? So, you know, my thing is with Arch Manning, obviously there was huge expectations for Arch Manning. And God forbid, and I'm going to tell you this, somebody's going to draft him number one because somebody's going to see, they're going to draft him in the first round. Somebody's going to see enough of Arch where they're going to draft him in the first round. Now, God forbid, Shador or Sanders had performed this way. You know, they would be massacring the kid. You look at what Shador did in college and versus what Arch is doing. There's no comparison. Shador has played, and you look at Colorado right now and how they're struggling, right? It's because of Shador, you know, because of his leadership and his ability to play the position. Arch has not proven that he can play the position at a high level. There's a reason why Quinn Ewers was the starter for the last number of years, and you can kind of see why. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not going to get better and that he cannot get better. He just needs some snaps. That's what he needs. He needs snaps. He needs time. The best thing that he can do is to go back to college and continue to work on his craft. I'm not saying that he's garbage or anything of that nature. I'm saying he's a work in progress, like a lot of young men are. You just think about who the Heisman favorites were at the beginning of the year, and look at who the Heisman favorites are now. I mean, it's people that nobody ever talked about. The kid over there at Oregon, Dante Moore, the kid at Indiana, Mendoza, I believe is his name. You look at the guys that now that are leading the charge for the Heisman Trophy. It's different than what anybody predicted at the beginning of the year. You know, Arch is going to be fine. You know, Texas won that game. I was hoping, you know, kind of hoping that Florida would win that game. But Texas was able to pull it out because they got better athletes. I mean, let's face it, they got better players. And Arch played well enough, and you know, the other guys played well enough around them for them to win that football game.
Okay, Candy, and what we're going to do is we're going to go rotate back and forth through Poland College to keep things interesting. Go ahead, Candy.
So one of my friends said she wanted Dallas to tank for Arch, and I'm wondering if she's thinking the same thing now. Like, Arch has got a lot of pressure on him. Let's face it. The whole country is watching him and watching what he does. And because of the pedigree that he comes from, people expect that he is this great and going to be a great player. I think that is putting a lot of pressure on a college kid. And let's face it, he's on a team. It's not an individual sport. he has completed 102 out of 162 passes. You know, he's been thrown into this role. Obviously, he wanted it, and obviously, yes, we said, you know, the quarterback Quint Evers left, and now Manning's there. I think Manning will be fine. I think it just takes time, and sometimes when you go from being on a high school level into the college ranks, and with NIL, it's a completely different look, different thing. Just like going to the NFL is completely different too. I don't think he's anywhere. I agree with Jeremy. I don't think Arch is ready for the NFL at all. I think he needs a couple, you know, at least this year, next year, in to get his feet wet, to be more proven. But I think there's a lot of pressure on him, and I think that's part of why. And you know, all the media is talking about him. We're all talking about him. So everybody, you know, that's a lot of pressure for a college kid to be under, and then for the rest of the team to have to help him perform as well. That puts pressure on them as well.
Great points. All right, we're going to go to the pros now. As I said, we're going to go back and forth. Going into the year, the LA Chargers franchise leaders in receptions were Antonio Gates, 955, and Keenan Allen, 905. That's going into the year. During Allen's return, he needs 52 catches to break the Chargers franchise record for reception. The update as of October 5th was Keenan Allen passed Marvin Harrison to become the fastest player to 1,000 receptions in 159 games. Most recent update also has Allen with 4 receptions for 27 yards against the Miami Dolphins. Mel, when I talk about Keenan Allen and Antonio Gates, what are your thoughts when you compare and contrast? And Candy, you're going to give us an update about in a few minutes about where Allen stands on the all-time list, okay, in terms of the Chargers, okay? But Mel, what are your thoughts when you compare and contrast these two?
Obviously, longevity. You know, neither one of them had played in a Super Bowl, I don't believe, or they haven't had much playoff success. But you know, it goes to their longevity, the way they take care of their bodies. You know, the only way you're able to achieve those types of numbers is that you're available. You know, and that's one thing that we talk about is the best quality among athletes is availability, and they're obviously available, and they've had a very long career, and they have you know, really taken their craft seriously and have been able to endure the ups and downs, the coaching changes, and different things of that nature. It just speaks a lot to the type of individuals that they are, that they were able to hang around that long in the league. You know, I can only hang around 1 year, but they're able to hang around many years. So, you know, obviously they've been very blessed, been very lucky, and very fortunate, and they've done the most. That they've taken advantage of the opportunities that were presented to them, and opportunities that they had.
Marvin?
Yeah, you know, it's remarkable, really. The Chargers, you know, back with Dan Fouts, they really introduced that Air Coryell offense. You know, right. They had, you know, they had premier receivers. They were airing it out. Dan Fouts was a Hall of Fame quarterback, and they were throwing the ball like, you know, unlike other teams. And you know, these guys have reception. So to think that he's up there, it's astonishing. It is, and it speaks a lot to this longevity, as Mel was saying, and just being a pro, being prepared, and come out there every day. Because like Mel said, you know, a lot. It's easy to get into that league, you know, and to become average. It's very easy to get into that league and to become comfortable. And for him to be able to, you know, keep it up year after year. His performance, you know, he's now benefiting with the results of being an all-time leader, essentially. Keenan's a phenomenal player. He was great in his prime. He still has gas left in the tank. You see him out there making plays, but it speaks volumes, especially with a franchise who's had many premier receivers in their history.
I mean, yeah, Imaginary Football Podcast. I think you're right. There's some audio breaking up. We're working on trying to get some of those issues resolved. We appreciate your patience hanging there with us, my friend. And it's good to see you back on here. Yeah, it looks like Mel's mic is a little bit choppy, but hang in there. We're doing the best we can to clear up 5 of those things, Mel. And I know you'll keep working on it as well. Go ahead, Tommy.
When I saw Chargers all-time wide receivers, I thought we were talking about John Jefferson and Wes Chandler and Charlie Joyner. I didn't know we were talking about Keenan Allen. I
Yeah.
know Allen's a great player, but does he really separate himself from so many other great wide receivers putting up similar numbers? Every team has a great wide receiver nowadays in the modern game. When the Chargers had wide receivers like Jefferson, Joyner, and Chandler, they've separated themselves from the rest of the league, except for maybe Jerry Rice. Charlie Joyner retired as the all-time receptions leader in football, and his numbers, I bet he's way down on the ladder now. The game has changed so much, but he was the all-time record holder when he retired, and he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. John Jefferson would be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame if he hadn't have gotten in a contract dispute and forced a trade because he never fit in at Green Bay the way he did with Dan Fouts. And Jefferson had the greatest hands. Yeah, I scoff anytime I watch these ESPN highlights and they show these one-handed catches, especially with Odell Beckham Jr., the credit he got way back when. These guys have on gloves. John Jefferson made those catches, same catches, without gloves. And then, of course, the Chargers, when they lost Jefferson, they got Wes Chandler, and Wes Chandler is another one that should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I've always said that if Jefferson had a full career with the Chargers, he'd be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If Wes Chandler had a full career with the Chargers, he'd be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But they're both split with other teams, and they didn't make it. I'm sure Keenan Allen's great, but he doesn't separate himself like those guys did.
And
I mean, Keenan Allen to me is a guy that really made a name for himself. I mean, coming out of Cal, I mean, he's not the biggest guy, he's not the fastest guy, and he knew he was going to make a bunch of his hay in the slot. The fact that Antonio Gates never played football in college and then came and he's the all-time leader in receptions, yards, and touchdowns shows you the type of player he was when he had Phillip Rivers. But Keenan Allen got something. They did something with him that they don't usually do. Keenan Allen left the Chargers when he still had all these records in sight. He went over to Chicago, and they let him come back, which means they want him to at least have the opportunity to. He's not going to catch Antonio Gates in yards and touchdowns, but to be the all-time leading receiver for the Chargers, that's saying something. Dan Fouts, Kellen Winslow, and those guys, those dudes were ahead of their time when they was doing it. Keenan Allen is never, ever considered one of the elite receivers when he got drafted, and look at the type of career he's had. Keenan Allen, and it's not the same production, but Keenan Allen is real similar to what Mike Evans is to the Bucs. Nobody saw those dudes doing what they doing, and these are Hall of Fame type careers. Mike Evans is definitely going to get in, having 1,000 yards for every year he's been in the league, which he's hurt right now. I don't know if he's going to have it this year, but Keenan Allen is a 4 or 5 guy that is one of the best route runners coming out of the slot, and we talking about having almost 1,000 catches, gonna have the most. To be the all-time leading catches guy for any franchise, that means something. And then that, whether it's a passing league like now or not, so to put his name in the record books like that is saying something. No, ain't nobody gonna say Keenan Allen was on the same level as a Julio Jones or a Calvin Johnson or a Larry Fitzgerald. But when it comes to the Chargers, he is football royalty when it comes to the Chargers because of what he meant. And every time Phillip Rivers went from Vincent Jackson and those guys, and then he said, "Okay, we got this Keenan Allen dude," and he didn't have a drop off. So I'm really happy for Keenan Allen. He's a guy that got it the hard way. This dude is from North Carolina. He went to college in California. Most kids ain't leaving the South. And then he went down. There was in San Diego, not in LA. I'm proud of Keenan Allen because Keenan Allen is what an NFL player is supposed to be. Doubt me if you want to and watch what I do. Just put me on the field and watch what I do. And he is respected by most defensive coordinators, defensive backs, and defensive players he's ever came against because, I mean, Marvin, you guys said it. I mean, Mel, longevity in the NFL is rare. Productivity and longevity is even rare. If rarer is even a word, that's my country boy coming out of me. But I'm just proud of Keenan Allen because a lot of guys come and a lot of guys go. He has one thing that is hard to do. He has staying power because they ain't have to go get him. I know they got McClunkley and all those guys, but proud of Keenan Allen. Like I say, the Wes Chandlers and the Kellen Winslows of the world move over. Because here come Keenan Allen to be. If anybody on this panel did anything of significance in sports, you hold your hat to that. It doesn't matter who you consider better than me. When my name is etched at the top, my name is gonna be etched at the top. That's hard to do, man. So shout out to Keenan Allen for getting it done, man. I mean, and he did it the right way. Never made waves, and he's still out there making plays in 2025 when he got drafted in 2014, 13, and he's still around doing it. That's saying something.
All right, Candy.
So it's crazy kind of to think of, like, Antonio Gates, yes, holds an all-time franchise record receiving yards, 11,841. But Keenan Allen, I mean, for him to have reached 1,000 receptions is really unheard of. Like Ben was just saying, to have staying power at the top of your game or within the top couple for as long as he has is unheard of. I mean, right now in the 2025 season, Keenan Allen has shown continued impact, being the only player with at least 60 receiving yards and 1 touchdown in every game so far this year. So that tells you right there, like, you're talking about in amongst all these young guys that just came out and are having great, performances, to come for a team to say, I want you back after you left, says a lot too, because how many teams do that? You don't do that with players that you don't like or that aren't performing and stuff like that. So kudos to him. Third on the ranks of career Chargers receiving yard would be Lance Allworth with 9,584. And then fourth is Charlie Joyner. So that rounds out the.
All right, great stuff, Candy. Just to let everybody know, on next week's Inside the Picks, and we'll talk more about the Penn State situation with James Franklin. We know he's been fired, and his buyout, I've heard, ranges between $48 and $56 million. So hope you can join us next week. There's a lot to talk about and uncover with James Franklin. I want to take the proper amount of time to get to it. So next week's episode on Inside the Picks Imaginary Football Podcast, I hope you can come back and we'll go into more detail about James Franklin. With that said, we talked about UCLA before. We'll talk about it again. Michigan State was blown out by the UCLA Bruins in East Lansing, 38-13. Head coach Tim Skinner and offensive coordinator Jerry Neuheisel are breathing life into Westwood. Let me tell you, Nico Lamaleva, 16 of 24, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. UCLA time of possession, 36-24 to 33-27. Total yards, 418, 250 to 253. So I'll tell you one thing, the resurrection going on for UCLA, Mel, is just remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about it. I can actually feel good about what I'm seeing on a week in and week out basis. Can be proud to be a Bruin for a long time. I had to deal with Marvin. It's been very difficult to be a Bruin, but it looks like they won the transfer portal and got the Detroit Lions. I mean, they look like an entirely different team. These guys are excited to play football. They're playing for one another. I mean, they got guys out there I've never seen before. The plays that they're running, they got the defensive lineman coming in there playing fullback. I mean, they just look. They have so much more life now. Before they just looked dead. Now they look excited, and so that makes, obviously, as an alumni, I'm happy to see. Now again, I got to settle in my saddle here for a second because I don't want to get too excited. Yeah, that's 2 games, but that doesn't make a season. But it's a lot better than what we've seen the first 4 games. So the last 2 games have been very, very encouraging. What Skipper has done, getting rid of the defensive coordinator, bringing in the guy in off the street. Jerry was demoted when Deshaun got there. Deshaun demoted Jerry to like a tight ends coach or wide receivers coach or something like that, and for Jerry to step up and do the things that he's doing. The play calling has been outstanding. I'm real proud of the Bruins and what they've done. But again, now that Penn State win doesn't look so great now after Penn State lost to Oregon and then they lose to Northwestern, who is somebody that UCLA lost to. So that win doesn't look so great, but it was great at the time. We'll take it. I don't care. We'll take a W any way it comes. Michigan State, that they're looking at him as possibly somebody who could that they're possibly thinking about coming in and coaching the Bruins. That's probably not going to happen since the way that the UCLA beat up on them. So it's exciting. I like what I see right now. I'm excited for the rest of the season. Can't wait till we get that opportunity to put those guys across town and see what it looks like.
Yeah, they looked really impressive in East Lansing. All right, Marvin.
As an alum of the school, Deshaun Foster went out there and obviously, gave you the best that he could. I think what we saw was that, for a first-time head coach, that job may have been a little bit too big. And when Tim Skipper came in there, you saw him make a shift with the offensive coaching, making Jerry the OC, calling the plays. And what it teaches you is that leadership matters. Leadership matters. And that's important. I think I don't know that Tim Skipper has the great coaching resume, but he's a veteran within the game, and I think he's coached. He's done some analyst work, so he has perspective, and he's been doing this for a while. And it's great to be able. Well, it's great for UCLA fans, for him to be able to pull them out of that rut that they were in, because you really thought they were going to be 0-12. That wasn't a joke. That was very real. This was going to be a historically horrible season for them, and for them to do what they did against Penn State, it just tells you, it's the old saying, you don't play the game on paper. You got to go out there and play the game. And this is a game played by 11 men who go out there who are motivated to play and they go execute. And under Deshaun Foster, they didn't do that. But you saw them do that against Penn State. You saw them do that against Michigan State. Two Big Ten teams who are in their own turmoil, but still respected enough that you give UCLA a pat on the back for what they did. So the Bruins are at the halfway point. There's a lot of football left. If I'm the head coach over there, I'm telling these kids, we got half of our season left. We have 6 games to go. And the reality is this: now you're wondering, what kind of bowl game can you get into? You have a big game at the end of the year against USC, and even the games before that, that are going to be in conference will be challenging. And if they win those games, we'll put them in a better position for a better bowl. Because right now they're probably not looking at playoffs, even though I think you're going to see a 3-loss team in the playoffs at some point here very soon. But they're playing for pride. They're playing for the opportunity to finish strong. They're playing for their seniors. They're playing for the guys who are looking to get to the league. They have a lot to play for in spite of their start. And Tim Skipper's done a phenomenal job along with Jerry Neuheisel.
Yeah, hasn't he? I think in the bowl game, considering the way they started, it'd be amazing. It really would be. I never thought I'd say that, but it's
me either. Yeah.
All right, Tommy.
Yeah, but we none of us know anything about football right now outside of Ohio State and Indiana. It is just so hard to figure how teams are going to perform. It was just a couple weeks ago, the entire nation was saying UCLA was going to go 0-12.
Yeah, right.
2 weeks later, they got James Franklin fired, and it looks like they're going to end up getting the Michigan State coach fired. There's a question about whether he's going to last the season.
Right.
The fan base has given up. They've given up on Jonathan Smith a while back, and then this was the final nail in the coffin for him. Outside of beating Michigan in a couple weeks, which is entirely possible based on their first 4 games. They were 3-0. They got beat by UCLA. But they scored 31 points, and then Michigan's not a good team. They were beatable. Michigan State should have beat them last year, and the Spartans, the coaching staff made some blunders, and they lost that game. But I don't know how to explain half of these teams, the way they're up and down with coaches you never heard of, like Skipper, are winning. And coaches with great reputations like Franklin are out the door.
Yeah,
it's mind-boggling, and who knows what's going to happen? What's going to happen next?
Candy.
In the day of NIL money, college coaches have to perform with who they got and who they bring in, because if they don't, their donors are going to fall away. They're not going to have as much NIL money, and their program is going to suffer. and they're going to find out that they're going to be one and dones or maybe a couple years, but they're not going to have the long leash that they might have had in previous. Now, as far as UCLA goes, they have a tough schedule coming forward. They go to Indiana and have to play at Indiana. They play Nebraska at home. They go to Ohio State and play Ohio State. Then they have Washington at home, and then they go to USC. So those are some real tough opponents that they go to, not just at home, but that they go on the road and have to try and play. Now, what I'll say is, yes, we all thought they might be 0-12, and they look renewed. They look more focused. Even if they don't come off with wins at some of those big programs, if they show competitiveness and if they're in those games, that's a win. I mean, for them, because some of those teams are really tough right now. And like we said, we thought they'd be 0-12 at the beginning of the year. And Tom, I'm right there with you. I don't understand some of the teams, how they show up sometimes and they're real competitive with some of the games. And then on teams that you thought that they would have it easy, they're losing. Like, I just don't get some of these teams and not being competitive all the time. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I agree with you.
Well, bottom line is, like Marvin and I said, they become bowl eligible. That's a heck of a year. All right, let's go back to the pros. I'm going to bounce back and forth. A couple of weeks ago, the Panthers were 37-83 since David Tepper had bought the team in 2018, but they've strung a couple of wins together against Miami Dolphins and Dallas Cowboys. They're 39-83. The reality with their most recent win over Dallas, still the Panthers are in rough shape there, Tommy, under David Tepper. He does everything else right, but he can't win. He hasn't proven he can do much with the NFL team.
Well, the good thing Tepper's doing is staying in the background this year. He used to always cause some kind of controversy.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard from him this year, which is good. You know, it's kind of, the NFL is kind of like college football. Who knows what's going on? The Panthers lost the opening game to the Jaguars, who everybody thought was going to be a bad team. And people in Carolina were ready to fire Canales, the coach, and now they've turned it around, and are they 3-3 now, I think, and beat the Cowboys, and Bryce Young is playing better. So it's the same thing. You just don't know what team is going to turn up week to week. It's baffling.
Marvin?
This is more of a leadership deal. Tepper came in there talking real big, talking about, standards and championship and what's going to be expected and what's not going to be allowed. And the reality is this: you can say all that, but if you don't get the quarterback right and you don't build around that quarterback, you have nothing. Because in the NFL, the teams who are relevant, the teams who are good, are solid at quarterback, and they build around the quarterback. Right now, we're still waiting to see if Bryce Young is really worthy of that number one pick. I personally think this kid is talented. I think he's talented. I think he's made plays. Right. I think he's really showed a growth in his confidence. So you probably have something here with this kid. The truth is, they traded away Christian McCaffrey, which I just don't understand how you do that when you're trying to develop a young quarterback like him. When you're trying to protect a young quarterback like Bryce. So with Tepper, his success comes down to Bryce. Bryce's success comes down to the leadership at the head coach position and the team you put around him. So for now, I think they have a quarterback, but do they have a system in place to be able to identify the players and get players in there through the draft and free agency so they can do something with this? Right now, they've won a couple games. It's early in the season, y'all. It's early in the season. There's a lot of football to be played. At the end of the day, the teams with the best talent, best coaching are going to last. I don't think they're going to last. I think this is, I don't know how competitive they're going to really be. Especially in a division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But yeah, Tepper's only as good as that quarterback and that head coach, and that's still a question mark there.
I agree with you. All right, Mel.
It takes time, and these owners are very impatient. You see that, with what happened in Tennessee today. They're they're very impatient. It takes time to build a program. Now, every now and then you get lucky. You get the right guy, you get the right coach, you get the right leader of men, and you get the right quarterback, and you can turn things around pretty quickly. But when a franchise like Carolina, and the things that they've done to really dig themselves in a hole, it's going to take time to dig themselves out of that hole. So you got to be patient. And with these quarterbacks, especially if you got a young quarterback, you got to give them time. Right. Every quarterback is not going to be like Jaden Daniels. They're not going to come in the league and set the league on fire like C.J. Stroud did. You're catching lightning in a bottle when you do that. That's every now and again. Peyton Manning was 3-13 his first year in the league, and then look how that turned out. Now, had he been with some other club, they would give up on him. He's a bust. He's a bum. This and whatnot. And Peyton Manning would have never become Peyton Manning. You got to give these guys. And Peyton Manning played a lot of football too in college as well. So he got a lot of snaps. He got a lot of reps, and it still took him time. And he's a great Peyton Manning, who we think is one of the greatest who's ever played the game. So you got to give these kids some time to develop. And then at the same time, we got to give that coach some time to develop. What baffles me is these guys are making decisions, multi-million-dollar decisions on personnel, on who they're going to have lead their football team, and then 14 months, 16 months later, they're saying that's not the guy. So I have to really question leadership and what is it that they're trying to accomplish. They kind of sound like my ex-wives. I mean, they want everything and then something else. Nothing is going to make them happy. So how many good coaches are there out there? I mean, how many times are you going to fire a coach until you just get lucky and stumble upon somebody who is going to be Bill Belichick every Tom Brady? I'm not saying Bill Belichick by himself, but Bill Parcells or Nick Saban. Some of the greats of history. How often do they come along? It's not very often. They're kind of one of one.
Okay, Candy.
These quarterbacks that get drafted number one are being drafted to a bad team. That's why they're drafted number one, which means that they need more than just a quarterback to lift them to the next level. So here you're throwing in, and now all of a sudden we drafted somebody number one as a quarterback. We have to throw him in there. We have to play him because, we're that bad. And you expect them to go out there and compete with veterans that have been on teams for years, that are MVPs, that we know will be Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and we expect them to perform at a high level and to compete and to win. And the problem with that is they haven't played in the NFL. It's a different game. And I know fundamentally it's the same game, but they play at a different pace. They hit differently. There's different schemes. They're thrown in with these coaches. And then all of a sudden, we're like, these owners are like, these coaches aren't getting it done. We're not winning. I thought if we drafted the number one quarterback, we would win all of a sudden. And so now magically we're going to fire the coach. And so now we're saying that these number one draft picks, quarterbacks, should be performing, but now we've changed their quarterback coach. We changed their coach. We've changed their scheme, and now they got to learn it all over again while they're still learning how to be a player in the NFL. This has happened. I mean, I want to say like the last four number one quarterbacks that have come out, all of them, let's face it, Tennessee just happened. It happened to the Jaguars when Trevor Lawrence came out. It happened with Caleb Williams. His one, like so many of these. We have said that sometimes the success of drafting a quarterback is sitting them in the background and giving them a couple years to watch, to get reps at practice, to watch and to learn. That has been one of the reasons why Green Bay has had such success, is one of the things they've did. And that's one of the reasons why they've had only a couple of quarterbacks, because they allowed them to develop, and then they develop and put them in there instead of saying, oh, you know what, you're not going to work out because all of a sudden, we drafted you number one. You're on a really bad team. your coach now got fired. We're going to give you a new coach. That's not working out. So we're going to try something else. We're going to bring in a different quarterback. And then these number one quarterbacks that are drafted, they were drafted because they were really good in college. So their confidence level in college was good. But now all of a sudden you put them on a team that's not doing well and they don't have the same success and their confidence goes down as well. All of those things play into it.
Well, let's go back to college football. Over the weekend, there were some firings. Oregon State, Trent Bray was 0-7. He's 5-14. Mark and he will obviously collect $4 million to stay home, and was in the second year of a 5-year contract. Trent Dilfer, 53, was 9-21 in 2+ seasons with UAB. And we have Ben coming in here just in time, 4-8, 20-23, and then 3-9 in 2024. And his only 2 wins were against Alabama State and Akron. And the reality is that UAB had a team record 15-game road losing streak. So let's talk about the firings, and we'll bring in Ben now. All right, now we're back home about Trent Bray and Trent Dilfer. We're going to talk about Dilfer in a few minutes, but there'll be more. These are just some of the ones that just took place. Trent Bray, obviously, you can't get away with 0-7 and 5-14 up in Oregon State. And Trent Dilfer, unfortunately, just didn't pan out as well. Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, I think you just said it. I mean, when you start talking about your job is to be able to elevate the status quo of your team, not just within the conference, but nationally. And then when you're not living up to the billing and we paying you millions of dollars, and not on top of the fact that we are putting millions of dollars into recruiting, we didn't bring you in here for that. And sometimes they keep these coaches way longer than they should. Some of these guys are real good guys, and it's hard to just move away from them because starting over in college, you may never ever get back to where what you once left. And the thing now, and I feel bad for the guy there, the Oregon State. Trent Dilfer is a little bit different. Trent Dilfer talks a lot. He had a lot to say when he was the coach, but he didn't really live up to it. A UAB is a proud program. As a guy that got recruited by UAB, many moons ago, I know what they're trying to build. It's never on the level of Auburn. It's never on the level of Alabama. But they trying to be talked about as like that, that third team in the state of Alabama. And it's not like that. And UAB, that program has gone through a lot of changes,
Right.
a lot of changes. And Trent Dilfer, I mean, he knows X and O's, coming from what he did in the NFL to going to TV, to leaving TV to go there. But when you talk a lot, but your team don't live up to the billing, it's gonna be an easy move because the same people that loved you become your biggest enemies when it comes time to get rid of you because they're always thinking about the future and the present at the same time. And the only person that controls that is the head coach. So this has been the most firings I've seen this early in the season. And I think the reason for that is not recruiting. It's early signing day. Early signing day in December will get you out of there because they're trying to keep some of the guys they already have committed, and they're thinking about the guys who are actually going to sign in 2026. So, I mean, you talk about Coach Franklin should let everybody know that you are not safe. There are certain coaches they find, but when Coach Franklin is gone and he was a game away from being in the national championship, nobody should feel comfortable. And I don't care who you are, because sometimes to take a Coach Franklin who was in the college football semis to get let go the next year to let you know, hey, winning a bunch of games is cool. Are we in the college football playoff contention? Are we playing for conference championships? Are we elevating the status quo? Are we getting the guys that we coveted? Or are you just making a bunch of money and you get to fly private everywhere you go? Everything you buy is comped. So, this is unfortunate, but this is the world we live in. People think they wanted social media and all this publicity, but now everybody can see it. It used to be it happens and nobody saw it. Nope. Everybody can see it or lack thereof. And like I said, I mean, with the type of things going on in college football right now, some of these youngins that's coming in right now, they don't know about this tradition with some of these schools. Some of these schools' traditions is behind them. Right now in the SEC, if you coming in right now, Vanderbilt is a top-tier school with what they're doing on the field. I'm just telling you, I have lived long enough to see those type of things happen. We can live off what it used to be. We can talk about the good old days all we want. But if you ain't getting it done when it matters, it don't matter. And I don't care. I can talk about Tim Tebow all day long. He was the first team of all first team quarterbacks. And Tim Tebow is married with a child now. That's how long it's been since he was in college football. So you better be doing it now. And I think making all these millions of dollars and not living up to it, and I think those days are over with. And I don't think patience is going to be practiced moving forward from 2025 moving forward.
Well, you make a lot of good points. Mel, this is your last topic before you have to bolt. So why don't you give me some thoughts about these college football firings? The ones that we're talking mainly, Mel, are Trent Dilfer and Trent Bray of Oregon State. That's a thankless job. He walked in when Jonathan Smith left it to go to Michigan State. And, of course, we all know that the problems that Oregon State's having right now as the Pac-12 is trying to get reorganized, and he's out there in the middle of all that mess. And then we'll go to Marvin afterwards. Go ahead, Mel, your final topic of the night.
Well, I think you have to be very careful. I mean, you look at James Franklin. He just got fired, and like I think Marvin was saying, he was in the college playoffs last year, and now what are we? 6 games into the season, and he's been terminated. Obviously, we know there's some relationship things there with the current AD and Matt Rule. I think that's the name over there in Nebraska. But this guy. Franklin's been there for 12 years. Now, Joe Paterno was there for 45 years. I believe 45, 46 years, won 2 national championships. There's 100 and some odd programs that play Division I football, and all of them cannot think that they can win a national championship. Now, there's some that believe that they can contend for a national championship, but I just want to be in the national conversation at UCLA. Can we just get in the national conversation the right way, not the wrong way, not for losing 4 games, the way that we lost 4 games, but we get in the conversation. Now, Marvin, he may want some national championships because they've got the taste of that blood. So they know what that tastes like. So they want national championship. I just want to be in the national conversation. Now, some of these programs just need to be happy to be in the national conversation and compete every 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years for a national championship. Just finish out the year in the top 25. Can we do that? Maybe even top 10 would be great, but I'll settle for the top 25. Can we just finish in the top 25, be in the national conversation? Recruiting wise, can we be up there in the top 25 in recruiting? Like Kirk Signetti said, winning has enabled them to get better recruits. Recruits want to go someplace where they are winning. When you have better horses, you have a better chance to win. So you got to be real careful. I mean, what are we teaching these young men now? Is it all professional? I understand it's all about winning. That's what it's about. But college football, what is it about? What is it about? Is it no longer about the college experience? Is it no longer about the education? Is it no longer about the relationships that you develop and that you build and have over a lifetime? I mean, I got guys that I met when I was 18 years old, and I'm still friends with them. We still communicate on a weekly basis. I mean, what are we going to? So I think you got to be very, very careful. And then, you're getting rid of a guy like James Franklin. All he did, like I talked about with the guy that was over here, Mark Rick at Georgia. All the guy did is give you 10 wins every year. You're in the conversation. Last year, you had an opportunity to compete for it. Yeah, now, hey, the wheels have fallen off this year, maybe, but do you think it's going to be better with the next guy? I mean, the grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence. Sometimes if you just water and fertilize your grass, it'll start to be real green and look just like the neighbor's grass. So you got to be real. I think we got to be real careful where we're heading now in college football. What is important now is it just winning natties, or all those other things that I talked about? Are those things no longer important anymore? I mean, James Franklin is not only is a good coach, he's a good man. He's a good role model for these young men. I think he's a good example for these young men. Now you're going to start all over and bring somebody else in there, and you know what's going to happen? Everybody going to hit the transfer portal. And so now you're really setting your program back. So you're going to take about 5 steps backwards to move how many steps forward. I'd like to see.
All right, Mel, once you let everybody know they get a hold of you, then we're going to turn over to Marvin.
All right, everybody can get a hold of me on all social media at Melfar Jr. And then you can follow what we have going on here in Georgia and also up in Michigan for the youth at melfarsuperstar.org. Sorry, I was a little late. I was having issues here. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
About that, having technical issues. And I got to run out early because I'm a babysitting grandkids. So I will see you guys next week, and I look forward to seeing everybody. Everybody be safe.
All right, thank you, Mel. All right, thank you. Okay, we'll turn over to Marvin. Okay, trying to make some sense out of these coaching firings, and we're going to get into more of that next week as more information comes out as well, Marvin.
Yeah, listen, I look at Trent Dilfer, and I have a different take. I think what he did was ambitious. I mean, he went to a program that was literally dead, not existent, a few years prior to him getting there, and he did that at UAB in the NIL era. Now, they're playing against, lower FBS schools, if you will. They're not having to compete, for their playoffs against an Alabama and an Auburn. We're still, you want to get competitive players. You would have thought that in the day and age of a transfer portal, when so many guys are entering the portal and not getting picked up and not getting big deals, you would think that a lot of those guys would bounce down from a Power 4 to a UAB. And that did happen. And with Dilfer, just his NFL pedigree, him being a Super Bowl winning champion, his perspective as a pro, as a quarterback especially, you wanted to see him successful. I thought he would be successful, to be honest with you, especially playing with, those Power 4 drop downs, but it didn't happen. I don't know how much NIL plays at that level where he's at, but I would think that UAB probably isn't playing, big NIL ball with anybody. So with that said, at the end of the day, the standard is a standard. They needed wins, and he wasn't getting it. In regards to Oregon State, Bray, Oregon State, poor Oregon State, they were left behind with Washington State in the old Pac-12. They were the nothings. They were the teams that nobody wanted. You know what I mean? And they were literally just left behind. And you don't see Oregon State as a traditional NIL power. You don't see them as an NIL power. That's just not what you hear about with Oregon State in regards to their alumni and what it is to be from that school. So I look at them as just they are playing without a full deck. They're not playing with that full NIL wallet that a lot of schools are going to have and have. 0-7 speaks to that. You get fired for that. In this day and age of NIL, where they're paying these coaches big money, as Kenny said, there are expectations, and when they're paying this big money, you have to win. 0-7, you have no excuses.
Tommy?
Well, the interesting thing about Oregon State is Jonathan Smith would have never left Oregon State for Michigan State if the Pac-12 hadn't dissolved. Yeah, he had to get out of there because he wasn't going to be in a Power 4 conference anymore. Trent Bay stays. He was his defensive coordinator. He stays, and this is his reward. He gets fired. He takes over a program that can't win, and he gets fired. So college sports is going down. I know the ratings are up, and it's great if you're Ohio State and Indiana and Miami and a few other schools. But I see it going down a bad road for most programs. It's not surprising that Bray and Trent Dilfer were fired. It's considering their records. It's surprising they were fired at this time of the year, in mid-season. That usually doesn't happen, especially at a lower level program, non-Power 4, I should say. And part of the reason getting fired is the donors were going to pull back their money. But Ben brought up another good point I hadn't thought of, and this is very true. If you don't have a head coach, your commits are going to start decommitting. And Penn State was losing all kinds of players already. Who's going to commit to Penn State if you don't have a head coach? And then that's the same is true at UAB or Oregon State. They don't have the same talent pool, but who are they going to get if the kids don't even know who the head coach is? And part of that also is that traditionally we always had signing date in February. Now it's in December, so everything's moved up, and so there have been all these changes, and it hasn't. It's made it more difficult to be a coach, have a stable program, have a stable roster, and if you're a fan, you don't even know who's on your team anymore, let alone who's coming to play you again. Used to be you worried about a certain opponent because some guy was back for his senior year. You don't even know who's on the opposing team anymore. So Dilfer and Bray are examples of what's going wrong with college football.
Candy.
Head coach Trent Dilfer stated in January 2025 that conference rivals can pay players double or triple in NIL deals, making it difficult for UAB to retain talent. He later revealed that the entire team had joined a players association called athletes.org to help secure a future in which players have more say and compensation. The talent drain, the financial disparity has led to some players leaving UAB for programs that can offer more lucrative NIL deals. The interesting thing in NIL and in Alabama was a bill was introduced in the Alabama legislature to allow high school athletes to earn NIL money, which could impact the future talent pool for the state's colleges. That's kind of scary because, like Mel was saying, these kids are in college. You go to college for an education, and obviously not in the day of NIL. They're not picking their school based on what's best school for their future. They're basing it on what's best for my future right now to get paid in NIL. And that's what is important to them in this NIL era that we're in now, is how much can I get paid now? Because that my now is what all I have. So am I surprised Trent was let go? I'm kind of surprised. I would have thought a pedigree that where you played in the NFL would automatically bring you some talent that maybe wouldn't go anyplace else because of that. You know, you've been there, done there. You've done that. You can mold people and tell them how to get there and what it's like there, and then you can help coach them up. So was I a little surprised? A little surprised. Obviously, I was at the game Saturday, UAB versus FAU, and that was right before Trent got let go. And I'm guessing,
we'll get to that shortly, okay, Candy?
Okay.
Thanks.
But yeah, I think in NIL, like I said before, in the NIL era, they want results now, or like we have said, the donors are going to start pulling, and if the donors start pulling and they don't have the money, the NIL money to attract future talent, what choice do they have?
Well, we're going to go to a station break right now, Candy. Go ahead.
Okay. South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us, and then tell all your friends and family. If you haven't subscribed to us, I don't understand what you're waiting for, so just do it now and then turn on that notification button so you are notified every time we go live. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can either email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com or please come in the chat room and start chatting with us. Ask us some intelligent questions and get us going here. We always love that fan interaction. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. Back to you, Scott.
All right, thanks, Candy. Let's go to our featured topic of the night. The Indiana Hoosiers turned Oregon into duck soup. How did I come up with a title like that? I don't know. I like to come up with creative titles. This one gets exactly like that. But how they do it? Number one, they have 23. Indiana has 23 transfers and 8 return starters. And when we talk about that, the Indiana Hoosiers traveled to Austin Stadium. They were ranked 7th and defeated the Oregon Ducks, who were ranked 3rd, 30-20 in a matchup of undefeated 5-0 teams. Oregon's 18 home winning streak was snapped at 18. Indiana improved to 6-0. Oregon drops to 5-1. But most importantly for Indiana, they are now 1-46 people as a road team against top 5 teams. And I repeat, 1-46 against top 5 teams. It was a big win for Curt Cignetti. Oregon suffered its first Big Ten loss in the regular season. They dropped to 11-1 since joining the league. So you talk about a monumental win, Ben. They don't get any bigger than this with Indiana. And there's no Bobby Knight sighting here in Indiana. This is all Curt Cignetti.
Yeah, listen, give Curt Cignetti a lot of credit, right? I mean, he's not a man that mince words. He's going to let you know what's on his mind, and his team seems to back it up. And everybody's going to talk about, what didn't happen in 2024. They didn't really play anybody. Finally got, I think they played Ohio State, got beat, and they got beat triumph in the first round of the college football playoffs, but they was in the college football playoffs. Curt Cignetti is on everybody's watch list right now. Everybody loves the type of coach he is. Everybody loves the moxie. But Dan Lanning talks a lot too. Dan Lanning has a lot to say too over there at Oregon, and he got humbled a little bit. If you are Indiana, I know we always talk about what is it going to take to get certain teams on the map and getting talked about in the, and not just be a national conversation, but being talked about no one wants to play Indiana. What does Indiana have to lose anybody they play against? They have nothing to lose, everything to gain. And when they beat you, it's going to keep Indiana, just like Kentucky, it's a basketball school, and there is nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean they don't play really, really good football. I think everybody want to talk about Michael Penix when he was at Indiana. Antoine Randall, I think he was a Heisman Trophy candidate when he was a quarterback at Indiana. But I'm always happy for those type of schools because the parity in college football is changing. I know NIL is changing it, but once you kick the football off, football is idiot proof. When you kick the football off, that stuff don't matter. Now, I get it. It's going to make headlines, but the Indianas of the world represent a different caliber, of athlete in college football because no one is going to respect them until they beat the Oregons of the world. As if to say, like I said, there are a lot of teams in college football that have zero history, zero tradition. Indiana is one of those schools that's trying to let people know if we ain't that good, why don't y'all play us then? If we don't play nobody, put us on the schedule. You're not messing with Indiana. Indiana is what Boise State used to be. Remember back when Kellen Moore was at Boise State and nobody wanted to play them? I remember when Boise State played Georgia first game of the year in the Georgia Dome. Georgia came out with them Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You look at uniforms, and they got beat. They got beat by Kellen Moore and them. So I'm always happy for the Indianans because they waving the flag for more than just them. And like I said, if you didn't like Coach Curt Cignetti before, you're going to hate him now because he's winning, and his resume is looking real good his first year in Indiana in 2025. So I like a trash-talking coach that don't mince words, that don't bite his tongue, and his team his team plays hard-nosed football. Dan Lanning sounded real humble in that post-game press conference, didn't he? Because he thought he was going to win. So I'm here for it, and I think it's good for college football when the teams that no one knows about, no one cares about, think they should happen to be here. They start beating the Oregon Ducks, who, I mean, I like the Oregon Ducks, but outside of Phil Knight, Nike, and 100 uniform variations, they are the team that loses to the national championship team winner usually. That has been their tradition, and obviously they got Marcus Mariota. Got to give them that too.
Well, let's put it this way. And now you brought that up. Phil Knight and Nike's the reason they got in the Big Ten in the first place. Let's not kid. It's not like they have a big TV market up there, but Phil Knight and Nike, give me a break.
I'm not mad at them using their leverage now.
I'm not either. I'm just telling you, they're in the Big Ten because of Phil Knight and Nike, and if they got the leverage, more power to them.
Absolutely,
and you're right.
Except now they lose to Indiana, so yeah.
Yeah, nobody can dodge Indiana. They're in the Big Ten. Boise State was battling to find relevance. They're in the Big Ten. That's a built-in. They can't avoid them. All right, great stuff though, Ben. That's why I've missed you so much because of stuff like this. All right, Marvin, go ahead. And look at Tommy nodding his head. Look at this guy.
Yeah, Kurt Cignetti. I mean, what we're seeing right now is one of the greatest college football coaching jobs ever. This isn't just about NIL because you have a lot of teams that actually have talent. They have good talent, and they're not doing well. They don't look dominant. They don't look powerful. Indiana came out of nowhere, and it's because of Kurt Cignetti. He was successful at James Madison. I think he was at James Madison at the lower level. He's having similar success, obviously, here in the Big Ten. Indiana all overnight became a Big Ten powerhouse team. Overnight, they became a physical Big Ten bully. Overnight, they became a threat. Overnight, they became, a national power that you have to think about and consider. What they did to Oregon was epic. What they did to Oregon was show you that they can come back from being down. They can come back. They can run the ball. They can play defense. I mean, they made plays all over the field. What he's doing in Indiana is remarkable, and it's not just him having NIL players. This is coaching. This is the details. Coaching matters. When you watch them execute on defense, when you watch them execute on offense, they look good. They're not making a ton of mistakes. You watch them and you see the details in which they're playing with. So I applaud him. Indiana is somebody who is respected, and you're right, Ben. Nobody wants to play them. Nobody wants to play Indiana because it's a team that you feel like you know the least about, but what you know is that they show up. So, I'm expecting Indiana to make a serious run this year. From what I've seen in the last couple of games, they are probably better than last year, which is scary for the Big Ten. And we'll see what they do when you get to those playoffs because they're going to be there.
Tommy?
I got to bring since Ben mentioned his name, Antoine Randall. I got to start out with that so I don't forget. That guy was a great player. I vote for him every year when the College Football Hall of Fame ballot comes out. But he never had a chance playing on those teams he was on. If he was on that Virginia Tech team that Michael Vick took to the BCS finals, that would have been the same story. He was that good. But that's how bad Indiana was. They could have a great player, and they never had a chance. I told the story a couple weeks back on the show about how when Lee Corso was at Indiana and they scored first at Columbus, and so they were ahead of Ohio State 7-0, and he ran his whole team out there to get a picture of the scoreboard. Indiana 7, Ohio State 0. To me, that's a joke, but that's how far down, how improbable it would be for Indiana to beat Ohio State. They still can't beat Ohio State based on last year, but at least they're a far more competitive program, and they're a playoff program. And then Oregon win was huge. What I found interesting about that win was before the game, Kurt Cignetti was talking about how Oregon is one of the few teams, there's only a half dozen or so with the tradition and the money to back it up, that they can run 320, 340-pound defensive linemen out there. And he said that was a big disadvantage for Indiana because they didn't have that type of players. But they still beat them. So they still I thought that meant that they weren't going to win. They still found a way to beat them, and they beat them pretty well. So Cignetti has proven himself as a coach each week, but he's also making life miserable for every coach that isn't in the top 10, that doesn't seem to have top 20 maybe, that doesn't seem to have a program that's ascending. You can't even be treading water because everybody's saying, well, look at Indiana. They did it. So Cignetti is the bane of just about every coach in the country.
Candy?
Kurt Cignetti. Yes, he is. He previously held head coaching positions at James Madison University, Elon University, and Indiana University of Pennsylvania. He is a 5-time Conference Coach of the Year and the 2024 National Coach of the Year. He is the only college football coach to have started 10-0 with 2 different teams in consecutive seasons. He achieved that with James Madison University in 2023 and then Indiana University in 2024. Let's be very clear, though. He has been a coach for a long time. He played for West Virginia back in 1979 to 82. He was a quarterback. In 83, he started coaching. He coached Pittsburgh. Then he went to Davidson. He went to Rice, Temple, Pittsburgh, North Carolina State, Alabama, IUP, Elon, James Madison, and now Indiana. So he's done a lot of coaching, been exposed to a lot of different coaches to help him get to this level. And when you learn from a bunch of different coaches and take a little bit from each of them, look at what it's become. It's become success for him. What can I say? I mean, obviously my team is in the Big Ten. I don't want my team playing his team, although they have to, but he is doing really well. This has got to be the first time I think Indiana's way, way up there. I can also say there was one more point I wanted to this was okay. Entering the 2025 season, Indiana Hoosiers were ranked number 20 in the top 25. After starting 5-0, rising them to number 7 in the rankings. After the Hoosiers defeated number 3 Oregon by a score of 30-10, this marked Indiana's first ever win against a top 5 team on the road and their second ever win against a top 5 team. The first since they defeated Purdue back in 1967. Following the win, Indiana rose to number 3 in the AP poll, the highest ranking in program history. So
well,
kudos.
all I'll say, Candy, it's been a pretty good run for the Hoosiers the last 2 years. And for those of you in Penn State, they're looking to get Kurt Signetti. Don't hold your breath. They'd run him out of Penn State too. But we'll leave it at they seem to run everybody out there. Everybody has a short lifespan. Ever since Joe Paterno left, nobody can stay around. If you didn't appreciate James Franklin, you're not going to appreciate anybody. I think he did an admirable job. More on him next week. We're going to go right in our backyard to Florida Atlantic as head coach Zach Kittley outclassed NFL Super Bowl winning quarterback Trent Dilfer as the Owls blew out UAB 53-33, led by quarterback Caden Veldkamp's 297-yard 3-touchdown performance. I asked Kittley about embracing the challenge of matching wits ends with Dilfer. The UAB, obviously, media relations staff knew what was going on. They had no media availability. They fired Dilfer the next day, replaced him with Alex Mortensen, the son of late broadcaster and insider Chris Mortensen. Candy, roll the tape.
Okay, let me share my screen. Let me get.
Hey, Coach, how did you like matching wits ends with Super Bowl winning quarterback Trent Dilfer, and did you embrace the challenge?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good dude. We don't know each other super well, but got to know each other a little bit at our head coaches meetings and an American Media Day. He's been really nice. You know what I mean? I think he's a really good football coach. Good dude. Again, him and I, we talked for about 10 minutes pre-game, just about a little bit everything. So again, he's a legend in his own right, Super Bowl champion, like you mentioned, been at a lot of different places, had success everywhere he's gone. And so, pretty cool to, just to have him as a peer almost a little bit, Super Bowl champion and stuff like that. But he's super down to earth and been really nice the whole time. And so, again, bottom line, it's just fun to get a win. So.
All right, so let's talk about Zach Kittley, okay? Ben, you're seeing it for the first time. What do you think of this kid? He holds the offensive coordinator. He's the quarterback coach and the head coach. And now he outclassed Trent Dilfer, who got bounced the next day, no media availability because they knew what was going on. But Zach Kittley is the story. But this kid outclassed a guy who won a Super Bowl. Any observations there, Ben.
He did. I think the thing is too, right? I mean, sometimes nice guys do finish first. You look at how complimentary he was in the post game press conference. How complimentary he was, saying, "Yeah, man. I mean, we almost like peers." And look, these are the type coaches that don't get enough publicity. We focus so much on the big names from the big schools, right? FAU. I mean, what's the name of the coach that coached there? Oh, that's right. That's what Lane Kiffin used to coach, right? That's what he was. That elevated him to Ole Miss. I don't like that we lose when a big coach goes to a school like FAU. They get all the cameras, and when they leave, the cameras leave. The publicity leaves. I don't like that. It's either college football or not, and I like coaches like that for this reason. Sometimes good guys also a really, really good football coach. They know the X's and O's, and the overall record might not be indicative of what he's doing. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Chris Carter is on their staff down there at FAU. And so they're if in the state of Florida, you always worrying about the big three, that being Miami, Florida State, and Florida. But FAU's got to deal with the UCFs. USF takes the shine from an FAU. FIU will take the shine from an FAU. But I don't like that you only talking about what we did because Trent Dilfer got fired the next day. Hey, man, we playing some good football down here, right? And they've gone through some coaches, but I'm always rooting for FAU down there, Boca Raton, Florida. If you've never been to Boca, it's nice. Expensive, but very nice down there in Boca, Marvin. You might have to take the fam down there. It's nice, and campus is real beautiful. But I like when coaches like that get elevated, not because they're a hot shot coordinator or they're a hot shot QB coach, because they're winning. Because the goal is to change the culture. What they say? Good teams have rules, great teams have standards. And when you're trying to be a great team, you uphold that standard all the time. But you have to be complimentary when you win, just like you humble in defeat. And hey, I'm here for it. And yes, do I be what they got an FAU like little documentary down there that Chris Carter be doing? So I know a little bit about what they're doing down at FAU. I be cheating, especially, my Gators, we can't really beat nobody outside of Texas and LIU today. So I'm not really talking as much trash as I used to, but I'll
say one thing. When I got wind though that Dilfer was going to get fired, I sent Candy down there to get a few pictures of the file, just so you know. I had to do that as well. And I had a young stud that Tommy knows about, or Marvin knows about, JJ Metz, who was telling me it was going to happen before it happened. And one of these days we'll bring on JJ here to inside. I think it'd be a dream for him to come on this show with you guys, and that's for sure. So, all right, Marvin, what's your take on what we saw there? Hello, Feather Freebird. Glad to see you in here.
Yeah, it was great. He was very complimentary to Coach Dilfer. Thought he was a little bit too nice, to be honest with you. I did. I thought he was way too nice. I understand being civil, being professional. That's all good. We need that in the game. We want to be good examples, good role models. We want to be good examples in leadership. But listen, this is football. It's a physical game. It's a combat sport. It's the only team combat sport. And you went out there and you won a game. Feel good about that. Shake the man's hand. But after that, talk about your team. Talk about what you guys did. Talk about your guys. Get off that guy already. You know what I'm saying? FAU, listen, I lived in South Florida for 15 years, came up to Atlanta after Hurricane Irma, and I got very familiar with FAU. The state of Florida has tremendous talent at the high school level. They're able, even pre-NIL, they're able to feed so many programs in the state of Florida. It is unbelievable. And when Willie Taggart and Lane Kiffin when they were at FAU, these are big name coaches who came from big name programs, like Ben was saying. And they put that program on a whole other level. They did. They made FAU nationally known just because of their presence as head coaches, and they won a few games. So FAU, great program. In regards to their coach, I think he's a good coach. This is the guy who's coaching like multiple positions, multiple areas, trying to do it all, I think. And I applaud that. But yeah, FAU is definitely a program on the rise, and I think he was way too nice to Dilfer.
Tommy?
Hey, if I had to do over again, I'd be a young coach, turn around a mid-level program, get hired by a big-time school with a $20 million buyout, and then not worry about how my season goes, because then I'll just take the buyout and retire. Because It seems to be such a pattern now. And this guy Kittley seems to be right in the main road for that. Although I just was looking at your schedule while the other guys were talking. They got to play South Florida, Navy, Tulane. So they got some tough games coming up. It may not be able to win 6 games. They're 3-3, but if they're competitive, there's going to be a lot of job openings. We haven't talked about Wisconsin. Luke Fickle is sure to get fired by the end of the year, because he was on the hot seat before the season started, and they're having a terrible season. So, very interesting guy. It's very interesting, and he's in a great position. There are going to be more jobs open than ever, and he's going to be a hot item.
Candy.
Let's face it, FAU, they first started football back in, it's only 2001. Howard Schnellenberger started this program back in 2001 and coached till 2011. Yes, they've had the Lane Kiffin, the Willie Taggart, Tom Herman, and now Zach Kittley. I think what's really interesting is all the hats that Zach wears. And Marvin, to your point that he was really nice in the press conference, that was the actual end of his part. That was Scott got in the last question of his, so he had already talked a lot about his team already.
Okay.
He had talked about his quarterback and all the success that they had. The defense didn't allow a score in the first quarter. They marched down the field 4 times before they even allowed a score from UAB. So he was really complimentary about his team and had talked about that, just so because I know you didn't know that. So I just wanted to put that out there. But FAU has a beautiful stadium, and yes, there is so much talent in Florida, but there's also so many schools that are competing for that talent.
Yeah,
And a lot of, I just want to say one last thing. A lot of schools, a lot of other colleges come down to Florida to recruit down in Florida, as well as the Florida schools. Okay,
Yeah,
Scott.
no question about it. Here, let me go over a few things here, a little bit of rapid fire as we continue to roll. The UNLV is now 6-0. Candy, let me know who they beat over the weekend. Dan Mullen doing a good job. He could definitely be a candidate somewhere. I don't think he's going to go anywhere this year, but she'll get us a score. They are now 6-0 as well. So we've been talking about them, keeping tabs of this school and UNLV. What can I say? Dan Mullen wasn't good enough to go to Florida. He goes into the TV booth, and now he's doing a wonderful job with Running Rebels as well. Everybody talks about the fact that the Running Rebels go out there known for basketball, but Dan Mullen's doing a good job. Candy, you have the score real quick?
Nope.
All right. Well, when she's getting it, it's been really nice to spend the last couple of weeks up in Boca Raton. I like to get to a couple of games a year. But get this, the Miami Hurricanes, the first game for the Miami Hurricanes, not in Florida, is at SMU on November 1st and will stay in the state of Florida. The furthest they travel is at Tallahassee, which is 411 miles away. They started with 4 home games with Notre Dame, Bethune-Cookman, USF, and Florida. Then they went off to FSU. Friday, Candy and I will be covering the Louisville game. And, of course, Saturday, October 25th, they host Stanford. Geographically sound. Tommy, I got to ask you this. So we're going to go rapid fire on this. I have a few other topics I want to get to. You ever see a school get so lucky when it comes to scheduling and not have to leave their state until November? SMU? That's just surreal.
Yeah. How many states have 3 Power 4 programs in the state?
Right.
One of them being in the conference, and then so that's part of it. But that's pretty good scheduling on their part. And they have a lot of options with the Florida schools, and I'm thinking they might be getting ready for a letdown. I'm still not convinced they're that good overall.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a couple of weeks, so stay with me on that. But think about it. They don't leave the state of Florida until November 1st against SMU. Okay, Ben, go ahead. Give me your brief take on this. We have some big pros on there. You can't get a more favorable schedule on this one.
I mean, we talked about it earlier. When you got leverage, you got to use it, right? Miami understands that they got leverage right now. I mean, they better thank Cam Ward for 2024 because, you know, he definitely helped elevate that program. And then when you look at what, Carson Beck and those guys are doing, hey man, they're a big time program. They run South Florida. I mean, we understand that, but yeah, I mean, you ain't leaving till November. I mean, they better hope that their best football is still in front of them because if they start laying eggs, people gonna be like, dude, what's up with this Miami team? But hey, so far so good. I mean, they got the state champ shirts because they beat Florida. They beat Florida, Florida State, and USF in back-to-back seasons. So shout out to them Canes.
Marvin.
In the Big Ten, you got teams in LA flying to New York. You got teams in the Midwest. In the Big Ten, these teams are traveling. I mean, they're going cross country every other week, which I'm okay with because again, they're getting that bread and it's what you signed up for. But for Florida, for Miami, for a team to be able to stay in Florida for a month when other teams are going to be battling weather, elements, travel. That's tremendous. I mean, that's a tremendous advantage. It worked out well, for them Canes, but it's unbelievable to think that when my Trojans are flying to South Bend this weekend, and UCLA's flying wherever they're going, that these Florida schools are staying in-house and they ain't leaving for a month, or at least the Canes aren't. That's to their benefit, and lucky for them.
Candy, you give me the score and your observations on this.
So the score of the UNLV played Air Force last weekend, and they won 51-48.
There you go. I knew it was a shootout. All right, we obviously know that you and I have had a lot of games, and they haven't had to go anywhere till November 1st. We'll have 6 in our pocket before November 1st. So that's pretty unbelievable how the Canes maneuvered this.
So I would say yes. I would say, Marvin, is it an advantage? Yes, but I think it would be more of an advantage if they ended the year with in Miami, all those games in Florida, when it is bad weather up in the wherever else they have to go. But if we all remember, last year they started out pretty strong too. And look at how they ended. They petered out when they left the state of Florida. And that's why they didn't play for the national championship last year. So they have to be careful that they keep their foot on the gas and can be as strong away as they were at home so far this year.
Yeah,
or they won't find themselves in the playoffs.
And that's exactly why I brought this topic up tonight, okay, because of that. Wait till later in the year. And I have a great topic next week that I'm going to talk about. But I had to get this one in here first because it's a top priority that they don't leave until November 1st. With that said, another one that's interesting, Louis Riddick made the comparison, Abdul Carter to Micah Parsons. Could be a Micah Parsons waiting to happen. Potential. Oh, that gets people in a lot of trouble. Carter was fined $11,593 for taunting a field goal block versus the Rams. The second time he's been disciplined for unsportsmanlike conduct. Louis Riddick. Maybe it is a good thing that you're on TV because, in my opinion, I find it difficult to be able to compare and contrast these two guys, especially at this particular point. We know Micah Parsons is good, but Ben, what are your thoughts about this type of comparison?
I mean, what is it? With comparison to the thief of joy, and when you talking about a guy like Abdul Carter, I love Louis Riddick. I think he's one of the best guys on TV, but could be the next Micah Parsons in what way? Like, in what way are we talking about here? A guy that's been a 2-time first-team All-Pro his first 2 years, 2-time second-team All-Pro his third and fourth year. A guy that's only been an All-Pro, and he was an off-the-ball linebacker. He is only playing outside linebacker because guys got hurt, and he's got more sacks than guys like Max Crosby right now. I get it. The first thing we do when it comes to sports, and Marvin knows this, is compare people to people. We shouldn't do that. We really should. Why? Because they both went to Penn State. Is that why you compare him to Michael Parsons? I mean, I wore number 84. I didn't play tight end like Shannon Sharp. And we both from down south Georgia. It does these players a disservice because depending on who says it, people are going to start asking him. This is the same Abdul Carter who asked, LT, hey, man, could I get that 5'6"? Nope. Go make your own jersey famous. You don't want to wear number 56 in New York, young man. You don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. But Does he have great ability? Yes. Can he go out there and be his own person? Yes. I mean, when I first got to the Tennessee Titans, they was asking me about, another tight end that was there. And I said, look, man, I just want to be myself. Like, I ain't trying to be like nobody. Now, if I was Marvin Powell III, yes, I want to play like my pops. Yeah, of course. That's different. That's legacy. That's genetics. That's bloodline. That's if they say, Marvin, do you want to play like Anthony Munoz? No, I want to play like Marvin. I just know these players don't have a shot sometimes because we got to crown them. Let him play football first. Let him figure out what his identity is. If we would have judged Baker Mayfield for what he did in Cleveland, he's awful, right? But he take Cleveland to the playoffs. He took Cleveland to the playoffs, and they let him go the next year. The nerve of Cleveland. Anyway, this is a family show. I'm just saying, don't do that to this young man because I think that's why a lot of players, and I'm 21, 22 years old, man, I'm still very, very influential. The things that people say about me, you know how I know I listen? Because I say I don't listen. I don't listen to those. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. So, Lewis, I get it. You're on TV. You got to talk a lot. We got a lot of airtime. There is only one Michael Parsons. Okay, nobody has done what he's done in 4 years. Reggie White has done it, right? So yeah, I just feel bad for these players because the first thing we do is we say, who he reminds me of? Who? He reminds me of Lawrence Taylor. No, he don't. No. He reminds me of DeMarcus Ware. Who? DeMarcus Ware Jr. don't remind you of DeMarcus Ware. So just stop that. Just let the man go out there and play. I think he got a shot to be really, really good. But football is very, very humbling. And once you show you can do it, that's what they expect you to do. He got to show it first.
Marvin.
Yeah, the problem with comparing this guy to a Michael Parsons is you're basically saying that you think he's as good right now as, all-pro Michael Parsons. And when a kid like that makes a mistake or has an off game, then you become very critical because you feel, well, he's talented. We compare him to Michael Parsons, but he's a first-year player, second-year player, third-year player, a young player. This kid is good. This kid is athletic. He's explosive. I'm surprised that he's having the success or the impact he's had so far. I think this year, this past game, he was up for Rookie of the Week or Player of the Week. But he bends. He's strong. He's athletic. He's quick. He's explosive. He does remind you of some traits that Michael Parsons has. But you have to be more respectful to that game, to these players, and to their craft. Abdul Carter is nothing like Michael Parsons at this point. Michael Parsons plays a game like a grown man. Abdul Carter is a young man, rookie, who's playing hard and playing good, but he's not Michael Parsons yet. Michael Parsons wasn't Michael Parsons out the gate. He was athletic out the gate, but he even got better. You saw his game be consistent. Allow this kid to grow. Allow this kid to become his own player. Allow this kid to define himself. But so far, he looks good. He looks real good.
Yeah, the bottom line is, Lewis, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, pal. I don't believe in those types of comparisons, and I'm not going to do it. I'll keep my comments brief. I want to get two more topics done before the show is over with. Tommy, go ahead.
Yeah, Louis Riddick is it's disappointing to hear he said that because he is such a good commentator, and you like to hear what he has to say. Abdul Carter saying that he wanted to wear Lawrence Taylor's number shows that he has no respect for history. So we can't say he's compared to any legend with after 6 games. Yeah, he might be a great player, but we got a long ways to go before we categorize where he is.
Candy?
I agree with the panel. You can't compare, a first-year starter to somebody that's been in the league how many years. Yes, you can say he does things like, or, this particular movie is like something, but no, you can't compare.
Very good. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, the Jacksonville Jaguars have a bright future, that's for sure, because they currently have 13 picks in the 2026 NFL Draft following the Tank Bigsby trade with the Eagles. They look fantastic in their win versus Kansas City on Monday Night Football, improving to 4-1, equaling their win total of a year ago when they were 4-13. Think about it. It was their first win over Kansas City since 2009. Not bad for them. Unfortunately, they lost to Seattle 20-17. And at that point, the Chiefs had won 23 consecutive games, including playing when they were leading by 14 plus points. Let's hand it to the Jags, Ben. They're playing well, albeit they lost Sunday, but this team is playing much, much better considering the bit of trouble that they were in. They got rid of Trent Baalke, bring on Liam Cohn, and things are looking well up in Duval.
Maybe that's what happened when you finally get rid of that general manager. That front office changed and everything changed, right? I mean, and I think that Liam Cohen, I mean, he seems to be the guy for the job. And the only thing about the Jacksonville Jaguars that I just want to go ahead, just let Travis Hunter play defense. I don't know what they be doing with him on offense. If he's gonna be out there for the sake of being out there, and I don't know how. I think he's a better corner than he is a receiver. But I will say this about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They played their best football when everybody was watching against the Kansas City Chiefs because no matter what, beating the Chiefs is still a big win. They are still the Chiefs. Just ask the Lions. So if you are the Jags, I know everybody want to look at Indiana Jones up there with the Colts. I mean, Indiana is what they call them. I just think that with the Texans trying to figure out who they are and Daniel Jones coming thinking they was going to run away with the division, Jacksonville said not so fast because, my Titans, we can't even keep our head coach at this current juncture in the season. So I have been very, very impressed with Liam Cohen, and the Jags. I think the thing about Liam Cohen, when he decided where he wanted to go, he was gonna latch his wagon up against with one of these quarterbacks, and he picked Trevor Lawrence. He said, "I like this young dude. I think I can work with him." And when you look at this Jags team, they're playing really, really good defense. I mean, Devin Lloyd, he's 99-yard touchdown for a linebacker against Kansas City. That's a long way to run, and he got there. So I just like the way they're playing team football. Tank Bigsby gets traded to the Eagles. That was a good trade because you look at what Travis Etienne is doing right now at the running back position. Brian Thomas Jr., he's 50. Some games he's really good. Some games he's not. De'Ami Brown, the jury's still out on him as far as coming over from Washington. But this Jags team as a whole, they're playing really, really good. And when a team that has been kind of a bottom feeder in a division like, the AFC South, and you finding a way to win games against, really, really good opponents. Yes, the Seattle Seahawks got away from them because that Seahawks defensive line, if you haven't heard, they eat up offensive linemen. Big Cat, Leonard and those guys, they was in the backfield all day. But I have been very, very impressed with Jacksonville. Once again, do they have staying power? We get these first 6 games of the year, you look good, don't tail off. And it's going to the hopes and dreams of the Jacksonville Jaguars will be on the shoulders of one Trevor Lawrence. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. He has to play well for them to continue to have success.
Marvin?
Yeah, to piggyback on what Ben said, he's right. Really for any NFL team, it's going to be quarterback driven. And if you're not successful there, you're just going to have a tough time. I think the bigger thing that I was looking at today, last year the Jacksonville Jags defense had 9 turnovers. They got 9 takeaways. We're in week 7. They have 14 takeaways. By the way, the Jets have none. Just to throw it out there. They have 14 takeaways in 7 games. I don't care what kind of offense you run it. If you get in 2 takeaways a game in the NFL, the odds are you're going to win that game, period. So, if Liam can get him going, be that whisperer, whatever he's going to need as a former number 1 overall pick, that's great. If they can get, Travis, sprinkled into that offense, which I think they should try to, I think that's great. But for the Jags, their success right now, it's on that D and those 14 turnovers they have in only week 7 in the NFL.
Great stuff. Tommy?
Yeah, when I think about the Jaguars, obviously the defense is great. You hear about the turnovers. But the interesting story I think about the Jaguars is I heard this. Somebody was talking about Doug Patterson, the coach, before Cohen, and he had talked about how much he had to kind of rebuild Trevor Lawrence's confidence.
Yeah.
That Urban Meyer had really shattered his confidence and beat him up.
He did. We were there to see that.
Yeah, and set him back. And then Cohen is picking up where Patterson would have left off. But I found that very interesting because Lawrence was such a great college quarterback, and maybe he can still has time to rebuild himself like a Baker Mayfield or a Daniel Jones in the right situation. But the other thing that made me think about is Urban Meyer. He had all those great Ohio State teams and all those productive quarterbacks, but none of them panned out in the NFL. I thought that was kind of interesting. I guess the exception would be C.J. Stroud.
Right.
But, yeah, it really makes you question Urban Meyer. Obviously the guy's a great coach. He won. But what about his quarterbacks? What is he doing wrong with quarterbacks?
All right, Candy. And we have one more topic. We have about 10 minutes to get through it.
I think the culture at Jacksonville has had to change over not just Urban Meyer, but it goes before even Urban Meyer. And I think that has a lot to do with it. The Jags have a lot to look forward to. Trevor has been with how many different coaches? So, yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time. The defense is looking up. They're building, they're expanding their stadium. They have great things happening in Jacksonville. Kudos to them. And to have 13 draft picks coming up this next time, just think if they're how good they are now, how much better they could be with those picks as well next year.
All right, final topic of the night. And final, we have about 10 minutes to get through. New York Football Giants impressive win over Philly, 34-17 on Thursday night. Jackson Dart doing a good job up there. Brian Dable hoping that he saves his job. But meanwhile, the Jets are 0-6 under Aaron Glenn. Lost to Denver 13-11. Justin Fields was sacked 9 times. Get that. 45 yards passing. As a team, they had minus 10 yards passing, the worst in Jets history. Oh, my God, by any team in 27 years. And Aaron Glenn, is he over his head? And how long will he last in the Big Apple? I guess we'll just leave that as a primary question there because I'll tell you, poor Justin Fields, I really feel bad. Sacked 9 times and minus 10 yard net and passing. That's awful. All right, Ben.
You definitely got two teams definitely going in two different directions. I think it's easy to just start with the Jets. The Jets, like I be saying, it's the culture more than anything else. Everybody wants to talk about, you know how bad the culture was? What did Aaron Rodgers do when he was with the Jets? Did he win there? No, he didn't. That's how bad the culture is. And I don't know what it takes to switch a culture, but it starts with a coach. I do think Aaron Glenn is the guy, right? But he just got there. Has anybody ever bought a real nice house you had to renovate? Well, you live on the inside, not the outside. You get in there, you go, dude, this needs a lot of work. And I think that it takes the one thing that Aaron Glenn needs is time. The last time the Jets had a good quarterback, he's in jail. I think he just got out. His name was Mark Sanchez. They went to back-to-back AFC Championship game. I'm just telling you, the division they're in makes life tough, not just the Jets themselves, but give Aaron Glenn some time. How many former players get to go back and coach a team that drafted them? You talk about a freaking E. Hollywood story going on, 30 for 30, but just give the Jets time. They're going to have to find a way to run the football. Wilson being out is not going to help a guy like Justin Fields. Justin Fields, man, you talk about somebody that has been destroyed. He went from Chicago, then he played well for Pittsburgh and got benched. So sometimes it's him getting his confidence back too. But that other team, look, when Russell Wilson gets benched for Jackson Dart, people thought, they're throwing the season away. Jackson Dart can play football. Jackson Dart got a young running back named Scatterboo that is scared of nobody that plays defense. This young man going to run through a brick wall, and they're playing good football. They beat the Eagles up. That was a beatdown. That was not, we happy to be here, because we just talked about Abdul Carter, right? Brian Burns, I think, leads the league in sacks. You talk about Kayvon Thibodeau, and nobody can block Dexter Lawrence. They got a really, really good defense. They got a young quarterback they believe in. They got a young running back who, you wear number 44 at running back in the NFL, you don't like people. You get to pick your number. He picked 44. So that tell y'all you need to know about Scatterboo, but I still believe in the Jets because I believe in Aaron Glenn. I just believe you got to give him time. And once again, I look at the Jets like I look at Jacksonville. Let the Jets start winning. They're going to start. If they start winning, just watch what they do, because it takes some time, man. Like I said, they've gone through a lot of coaches too. And every time you get a new coach, that's a 2 or 3 year, renovation. I don't care who come through there. So we'll see what happens, but I still believe in the Jets. I like what's going on with the Giants right now. Brian DeBoer, he going to keep his job now. Because usually when you go to the rookie, that gives you a little mulligan. Hey man, they trying to make some noise in the beast of the NFC East. So but yeah, I'm gonna still rock with them. I used to live in West New York, New Jersey, real close to MetLife, man. So I used to run into them Jets fans. The worst thing you do with the Jets fans is ask them who they root for. They get pissed off. If you it's like a disrespectful. I'm just asking. They're like, where you from? I ain't know, man. I'm just asking. I ain't, So hey, but shout outs. But I think the Jets gonna be fine. But I know Marvin may say something a little different. But I still believe in Aaron Glenn. I like what's going on with the Giants.
Great points. That's why we've missed you so much because of this. Oh my gosh. Get back here next week. You better be here next week. All right, good stuff. All right, go ahead, Marvin. Tommy, we got like 5 minutes to wrap this topic up.
Yeah, I feel bad for Aaron Glenn because he did such a great job with the Lions. Ironically, the Lions, it didn't matter who they named as their head coach for decades. They couldn't win. And now Glenn finds himself in that position. After helping rebuild a culture with the Lions, now he seems to find himself in that situation with the Jets. And with their erratic owner, Woody Johnson, who knows what his future is. It's a tough situation.
Marvin?
Yeah, it's the Jets. Unfortunately, I think the Jets are going to be in a rebuild situation. That's what I don't think Justin Fields is the guy. I was somebody who thought we had an opportunity this year to win 9 or 10 games, and at this point, I mean, we could be looking at 0-17. That's the reality of who we are. I'm just being honest about that. It breaks my heart to say that. The Giants have life. There's a lot of football left. They found lightning in a bottle with this quarterback running back situation, and the Giants are going to be interesting to watch as we move forward into the second and third parts of the season.
Candy?
Yeah, the Jets. I mean, I can see 0-17. Let's face it. But what I will say about the rest of the league, if you would have told me the leaders going into this week, the leaders in the NFL would be the Indianapolis Colts and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, both sitting at 5-1. Before the season, you would have told me I'm on drugs. Because let's face it, we all thought the Eagles would be up there. The Chiefs are 3-3. There's so much more parity in this league. That's why we play the games, because any given week, any given team can beat a different team, because there are some games that you would not have thought people would win, and they're winning.
Well, here's the reality. Anytime you have a quarterback that calls the head coach as a dart calling Dable at night, so, coach, we can do something different at night. And the coach just says, kid, get a good night's rest and we'll talk about it in the morning. You got the makings of a pretty good combination there, is what you do between the quarterback and the coach. Yeah, I love this kid already. He's a gym rat, as they would call it, right? So we'll talk about it in the morning. Well, they got a couple wins, and the future looks bright for the Giants. Yeah, the Jets, that's a thankless situation. Robert Saleh couldn't solve it. Woody Johnson's in the way, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't good enough. And the only thing I have a problem with Glenn is the way he handled the Rodgers situation. To tell this guy to fly across the country and said you don't have a job, Zoom would have worked, pal. Other than that, that was very I didn't like the look there. That was bad. I mean, and Rodgers got the last laugh when Pittsburgh beat the Jets. But as far as what they're doing, the Giants, I like it. The Jets, they have a lot of work to do. Woody Johnson, I hope he stays away. Great show tonight for sure. Enjoyed all the contributions by everybody. And what we're going to do next week is we're going to carry over my topic on Ed Orgeron, and we're going to talk about Jimbo Fisher next week, as well as we'll get more involved with the James Franklin situation. We're talking about coaches that have been let go. Why don't we talk about a couple that are looking to get back in the game? And those will be two that we talk about next week here on Inside the Pitch. And great show tonight, Mel. Good to have him on. Tommy, what can I say? You talk about a college football encyclopedia and basketball. You're definitely at Ben. I'm so glad you're back. I mean, I don't know how to sing the Welcome Back Cotter song, but also because I would say the same thing to Welcome Back Ben Troop, but at least I'm thinking about it. You and that hat. Looking forward to see. Oh, look at this guy. All right, what is that?
That's the Dirty Birds. You saw the Falcons last night.
Yeah.
What you talking about? Listen, Marvin won't say it, but Marvin lives in Georgia now. We know he root for the Jets. I root for the Titans. If we can root for the Jets and the Titans, we can root for the Falcons. I'm just telling you, we can root for them. And that's a really nice stadium if you've never been.
Well, here's what I can root for. I can root for the fact that I have you both in my airspace every Tuesday, and because I get this kind of dialogue, our ratings are going to hit the roof. So root for whoever you want. I root for the fact that you guys are on this set every Tuesday. And I know you've been busy, Ben. I'm just not busting your.
No, it's all good. Y'all didn't catch me when he first came on, and Marvin was poking fun at Mel. To me, is that a bear? I catch that little stuff. Like Marvin is just saying, listen, whenever UCLA get to start talking trash, Marvin gonna say, bring your voice down. Now.
You gotta humble him. You gotta humble him.
There you go. Well, all I know is it's been a pleasure watching you two. And Tommy, you're a clinic. What else can I say? And Candy and her research, it is what it is. All I do is just try to make sure we don't screw it up. All right. With that said, Candy, one more station break. We go around the horn and we wrap it up. Go ahead, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved and changed. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great other content, so go check it out. If you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, click it like a share us, and then turn on the notifications so you're notified every time we go live. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us where you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune.com or gmail.com. Yep. There you go, Scott.
All right, Marvin, let everybody know they can reach you, buddy.
Marvin on the mic, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Marvin Powderthread on Facebook. You can find me on Locked On USC on Mondays and Fridays. You can find me with USCJ Thursday, 3 o'clock. You can find me on the South Florida Tribune Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening.
Yeah, I love having you on the Sports Exchange. We're going to have a loaded show tomorrow night, Marvin. So I know you're at the top of your game all the time. And tomorrow I'm going to have you even on your toes because it'll be basketball heavy and you'll have a chance to stick it to me with the USC-Michigan game. I've left it wide open for you to stick it to me. I'm sure you won't be able to have weight on that segment. And George Eichhorn will be on there while we both get smacked by you. But that's okay. Go ahead, Ben.
They can find me on all social media outlets at BenTroop84. You got the Fan in the End every Wednesday from 11 to 1. You got Winning the Division every Monday night. I'm still doing 84 Reasons, and hey man, I'm just enjoying my time and making sure I'm back on here on Tuesday night. It's the South Florida Tribune, just talking that talk, having fun, not taking it too serious, man. My daughter keep asking me all these questions like, what if I want to start my own podcast? I say, yeah, it's in the kitchen. It's called Dirty Dishes. Just go do that first. Let's be consistent at that first.
That was good. All right, Tommy, you got about a minute to state your case.
Hey, my Twitter is Shanny4055. Go to my website, tomshanahan.report. I have a special story up there today. On Saturday, Terry Hanratty, the Notre Dame legend, will be honored for his College Football Hall of Fame induction in December. USC is playing at Notre Dame. And Hanratty is one of the all-time legends, and he's forever tied to Michigan State through the 1966 game of the century. And the Michigan State and Notre Dame players from those teams have a special bond, and that's what I wrote about on my website, tomshanahan.report.
Great stuff. So Tommy's on here every Tuesday. He'll be on the Sports Exchange hopefully next Wednesday night. He goes on every other week, right, Tommy? We bring him on twice a month, so we'll stack the deck there. So meanwhile, great show tonight on behalf of Stephen Reichel for a little bit anyways. Mel Farr, and we should put Mel on the mic. Just kidding. And Tom Shanahan, Candy Emling, Ben Troop, and Marvin Powell III. This is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morganroth the first, saying good evening, everybody. The Motor City Madmouth will see you tomorrow night on the Sports Exchange and inside the Picked In next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.